请继续执行。
创个模组好了，做掉给他一些不错的模组。嗯，真实作业，然后 真实车灯，然后美化路灯，然后柏油路面高墙，感觉不需要到4K，2K 就好了。哦，来开个游戏。哎，这边
往东南，
这地板确实是比较清楚。
请继续执行。
拜。好。
围靠右走。靠右行下交流道。
My God， 这刹车超级力！那你把刹车力度减一点。刹车力度。
继续执行。请继续执行。
The purpose, all that, and I can earn while I learn.
Yay, painting next. details.
So, what are you watching at the moment?
Squid Game, Dad.
Let's watch it together this weekend. That'd be nice. What's it on again?
Netflix. You've got ETV, so I can just switch it on.
What season are we up to?
4. That's Stranger Things, Mum.
What about the kids?
Don't worry, they'll watch Cocomelon for the 100th time.
Switch on Netflix with EETV, plus change on sports and entertainment. It's TV with the ultimate flex for the whole family.
EETV requires EE broadband. Separate 24-month contracts for TV and broadband. Content may vary. Terms apply.
The Virgin Atlantic Holiday Sale is now on. This is your sign to taste Jamaican jerk chicken so good it brings a tear to your eye. Catch a New York basement gig worth the 10-block detour. Or hit the dunes in Dubai and find sand in your pockets for weeks. Seize the sale. Book in store or online at Virgin Atlantic Holidays. Selected routes. For T's and C's, visit virginatlantic.com.
This is LBC with Ian Payne. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
So, do we need a radical rethink of the state pension age? It's gradually climbing. Some people say we need a radical rethink because the money's going to run out and young people who are working now will not be able to get a state pension. So what should we do? One suggestion is raise the age before you can get your state pension to 75. But what happens if you're working in a very strenuous industry like Aaron in Scunthorpe? Good morning.
Morning, mate. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. You're a scaffolder.
Yeah, basically I rang in to say, it's a really hard job. I mean, there's people, there's a lad who I know in his 50s, he can't walk properly, he's got both legs arthritis, he can't afford to take the time off to get them done. So I've known all the boys not be able to look up, with carrying the weight on the arms, on the back as well, they can't look up. These aren't even in the pension age yet. So for me, you hear the talk of raising the age, and it's just like, how am I going to survive at that age? I can't afford really to put into a private pension because I live on my own and I bought my own house. Everyone has said, the advice given was get out, get bricks and mortar, at least you've got something. But then what happens if I do have to retire and have to sell the house? I'm going to be going on to rent then. So I just... Have you paid off your mortgage? I haven't, mate. I'm 33. I'm about 15, 20 years off. I took a 35-year mortgage out. So it's... when that last struggle, which said about having 3 pensions, bloody hell. I know. Sorry. I love that. I love to be in that situation.
So the 50-year-old who's obviously got arthritis and is struggling to be a scaffolder, I find it amazing. I mean... Can he... I mean, if he doesn't... Is he like a freelance? He can't take time off sick to get this...
Right. We're on the book, so we're through a firm. We get statutory sick pay of £89 a week.
Right.
We don't get anything. We don't get 6 months full pay or anything.
So they won't give him 2 days off to get his legs done?
Well, no, he needs full knee job done, so it'd be months, 6 months.
Oh, dear.
Something I've got to look forward to.
继续执行。
Just keep fit.
So like you say, when they're talking about raising the pension age, the way I see it is this is probably someone in an office going, let's raise the age. What about people in construction or, you know what I mean, people what are doing hard graft? Physically hard.
Yeah, well, I hear you, Aaron. Anyway, if it's any relief, we're here all the time. You can have a listen to us. The old basic state pension is 176.45, isn't it? And it's now, if you're a man born on or after 6th of April 1951, or a woman born on or after 6th of April 1953, you'll get the new state pension instead, which is £230 a week. Are you living off a state pension? And how are you managing? It's 22 and a half minutes to 7 o'clock. Intervention is urgently needed on the crisis that is the deepening fuel poverty, says the organisation Independent Age. Morgan Vine is the Director of Policy and Influencing at Independent Age. Just give us a few more details about this. Good morning.
Hi Ian, thanks for having me. So the details are that fuel bills are still incredibly high So they are going to bed really early just to stay warm. They are reducing their food so that they can put the heating on for an hour. And we think this needs to change, and that the government needs to make sure that there's support in place through the Warm Homes Discount and by introducing an energy social tariff to tackle this.
Isn't there already a benefit for this?
So there is the Warm Homes Discount, which already exists, and that's about £150 off people's bill. But as I've said, bills have gone up by about £700, and the gap between what people can afford at the moment we predict is about £400. So £150 isn't really touching the sides for people of all ages living on low income.
Okay, so to remedy this, you're saying that the government should introduce a new benefit for fuel poverty?
We think that they should look at the current Warm Homes Discount, which is due to end in April 2026, and we want to make sure that that is a decent amount of money. So at the moment it's £150 off a bill. We think that needs to be £400 off a bill to help people meet the bills that they've got. But we also want an energy social tariff to be explored, which is where people living on a low income get a discount off of their bill.
Has the government shown any inclination to do any of this?
We've had some productive meetings with the Minister for Energy, and we appreciate this is a big ask, but the people that we support and that the other charities who funded this work support are really, really struggling, and this winter is going to be incredibly difficult for them.
Would Independent Age, who you work for, would they have an opinion on something we're talking about now, which is about pension, state pension, and raising the age maybe to as much as 75? What would you make of that?
Yeah, we're incredibly concerned about the state pension age. I was listening to your caller Aaron talking about his work in construction. He's absolutely right. There are many people across this country who do very manual jobs, who work in retail or trade, who will really struggle if the state pension age rises. And there's lots of evidence to show that when this has happened in the past, even when the age has only risen by 1 year, that there's huge numbers of people thrown into poverty. So we would want to ensure that the government is thinking about how to support that group and really considering very, very carefully before it makes any decisions on raising the age.
Thank you very much, Morgan. Morgan Vine, who is the Director of Policy and Influencing at Independent Age, who are concerned about a deepening fuel poverty crisis. Right, let's talk to our political editor. We're blessed Natasha Clark joins us now, who was in Oxford for the Reform UK press conference yesterday, where all sorts of things were promised. What's the reaction, Natasha, I suppose I should ask?
Yeah, morning, Ian. Yeah, it obviously has been big promises coming out of Nigel Farage and the Reform Party in the last 24 hours, and all of the other opposition parties have basically spent the last day trying to argue that his plans to deport 600,000 people are just not workable. Yesterday, the Reform Party leader, as you say, used a press conference in Oxford to try to set out a bit more about his plan for migration. If, and of course, it is a huge if, he wins the next general election, which at the moment not meant to be until 2029. Nigel Farage gave a bit of an eyebrow raise at that suggestion and thought that it could be even sooner. So this plan would mean leaving the ECHR, disregarding a string of treaties, detaining and deporting people without appeal. He said that this is the only way to tackle the growing issue of migration.
If you come to the
围靠
UK
右走，
illegally,
靠
you
右
will
行
be
下交流
detained
道。
and deported and never ever allowed to stay. Period. That is our
靠右
big
行
message
下
today.
交流道
And we're the first party to put out plans that could actually make that work. We will stop the boats from coming. There'll be no more incentive to pay traffickers. Public trust will be restored, and we genuinely are the only party that can be trusted on this.
He said that an impact could be felt within days of getting elected, but before that he said there would be a 6-month window for people to self-report using an app that they are here illegally, and people could get paid £2,500 to go back home. That, he said, was far cheaper than the £17,000 that it costs to put someone on a deportation plane. Now, as part of that press conference, he also admitted that women and children could be deported under this plan. He said that lone men would be the first to go. However, he did admit there will be some exemptions in exceptional cases for people like Afghan interpreters. But Ian, I think for Nigel Farage, this really is a twofold plan. Firstly, it's all about setting out what a reform government would do, what they actually would look like. And secondly, of course, to increase the pressure on the Prime Minister. We know this is an issue getting more traction. It's obviously been more than 50,000 small boat arrivals since Labour came to power. We saw those asylum figures that were released last week. But it is a big plan. It's a very bold plan. It's probably the most drastic immigration plan that any political party has ever put forward. Obviously, his critics this morning going all at him, saying this is controversial. This could lead to people being sent back to basically, difficult regimes where they may face torture, where they may face being killed. Mr. Farage's argument is something needs to be done here. He's worried about British people. He says they should be prioritised first. Mr. Farage acknowledged yesterday this is going to be a very, very hard thing for him to do. He insisted he was the most determined to take action. I asked him what his message would be to critics and how the public could trust him.
The social contract that exists in this country between those that work and pay their taxes and those that govern them is at a very, very fragile moment. That trust in politics and trust in politicians, frankly, it's certainly never been lower in my lifetime. And I think you might have to go back a long way in history to find a parallel period. So the restoring of that trust is absolutely vital. A lot of people around the country who say they're going to vote reform believe that we're pretty much the last shot.
And of course, Ian, we have heard a bit of this before. If you're thinking, this plan seems kind of familiar to me, well, of course, we know that the Tories have tried some of this already. The Tory leader, Kenny Badenoch, has said that the Reform Party are now just upping their homework. Labour yesterday dismissed all of this as just gimmicks, saying there was not a single answer to the financial, practical or ethical questions of how it will work. And the Liberal Democrats have said that the news that the Taliban have said they are ready to work with Farage to accept migrants' proposals to give them money would just be a Taliban tax, sending millions and billions of pounds to an oppressive regime that Britain once fought.
Thank you very much indeed, Natasha Clark, our political editor. Yeah, there's an interesting reaction in the newspapers this morning. There's any Telegraph picks up on the point Natasha made there at the end. Taliban to give Farage deal on migrants. Reform leaders plan to deport 600,000 will be supported by the Taliban in Kabul. The Mail says, finally, someone who gets it is how they describe it. And the Mirror says Britain is better than this. So a fairly mixed reaction. We're talking about the state pension. Should we raise the age before you're entitled to the state pension? Some suggest it should go as high as 75, because at the moment it doesn't look like young people are going to have any money for them to claim. Is that what you think? Also, I also want to talk about people who are still working in retirement, either by choice or because you just can't afford not to. It can actually be surprisingly tax efficient, according to an expert's opinion I was reading this morning, because those who've reached the state pension age do not pay national insurance. So are you still having to work because you haven't paid off your mortgage yet? You don't want to be working. You should be retired and enjoying yourself, but you can't afford to. 03456060973, that's the telephone number. It's also the WhatsApp number. 03456060973. Give us a ring, send us a message and tell us about your circumstances. It's just after 7:15. Here's Thomas Watts.
Opposition parties have dismissed Nigel Farage's promise to carry out mass deportations as unworkable. Maker of the weight loss jab Mounjaro has told its British wholesalers to stop taking orders because of unprecedented demand. And the energy regulator Ofgem is due to confirm its latest household price cap. LBC weather, many places seeing a mixture of sunshine and showers, some heavier rain moving northeastwards, a high of 24 degrees.
LBC travel, I'm Joanne. We're very slow on the A2 westbound up to Pepper Hill, and that's all down to an accident that happened earlier, but all the lanes are now back open. Very busy in Coulston North on the A23 Brighton Road, and this is all down to the roadworks. And also because of roadworks, there are queues on the North Circular Road westbound to Almos Grove. Those queues go all the way back to Palmer's Green, taking around 20 minutes to get through. On the Underground, the Jubilee line can't run between Green Park and Waterloo. It's all down to a signal failure, and there are severe delays on the rest of the line. And the Central line is suspended for the rest of this week between Newbury Park and Woodford via Hainault because of engineering works.
LBC.
Hey Sainsbury's, any way you can save me a few quid on my weekly shop?
Well, Jane, try your Nectar prices. Every week in your Nectar app, you can unlock up to 10 personalised discounts on things you love at Sainsbury's. Hey, Jamesbury's, if you will.
Sounds like my kind of place.
Get personalised discounts with your Nectar prices. That's good food for all of us. Jamesbury's. I mean Sainsbury's. 18 plus Nectar app required. Unlock up to 10 more Nectar prices weekly. Available in supermarkets, online and in locals with smart shopping. TNC's apply.
Hello, I'm Nick Ferrari, and I'll be back taking your calls in 15 minutes. So get it off your chest and get it on the radio.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast.
Join me, leading Britain's conversation on LBC.
Ears are great, aren't they? One on each side of your head for stereo. It's because of ears that radio ads can amplify your advertising. 40 million adults listen to commercial radio every week. That's 80 million ears, give or take. See radio differently at radiocentre.org.
Hey Mum, so you know we met Zara, my financial advisor? Yeah, from St James's Place. Well, she drafted our plan, so you can get that bungalow in. Oh, and Sam, that lovely carer we found will drop in. And I can bring over my signature shepherd's pie. Hoy!
Big decisions call for invaluable advice. Visit St James's Place to find your one-to-one financial advisor. St James's Place Wealth Management PLC is authorised and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. SJP approved 19th of Feb 25.
Hey, Harry. Hello, mate. Got any tips? Sometimes, pal, your best bet is not to bet at all. And Bet Victor's app makes it really easy, simple and safe to do so. They've got lots of helpful features to help you manage your time and your spend online. But it also really helps that I can't find my blooming phone half the time.
Yeah, that does really help.
I don't even know where it is now. I can hear it, I can't see it. Sandra?
Listen to Harry, and please, gamble responsibly. 18 plus gamble.com.
Octopus Energy. Great value and outstanding customer service. Recommended by which? 8 years running. Octopus Energy.
Imagine your dream holiday made possible by comparing cheap flights on a kayak, walking on an unswept miles beach on the Sardinian coast, plunging into the splendour of an idyllic lagoon in Greece. Ah, yes, this is the life. All you have to do is actually book it. Don't holidays. Use Kayak to compare prices from hundreds of travel sites and airlines to find your dream deal. Search Kayak and go see for yourself.
This is LBC, leading Britain's conversation with Ian Payne.
It's 9 minutes to 7. I'm going to be speaking to the youngest member of the House of Lords in just a moment. She's a baroness and she's only 29. First, though, Ollie, who is a first-time caller, you're slightly worried about getting a pension at all. Good morning.
Morning. My first time, so I'm a little bit nervous.
Oh, no, brilliant, brilliant. Enjoy it, live life.
So I will try. I've just turned 38 and I've just started getting into my pension and I've been crunching the numbers, and the idea of working to 75 is grim. I work in health and social care. It's quite mentally draining. I'm not sure I could do that until I was 75. I'm relatively sprightly at the moment. I can handle it, but I don't want to be doing that until I'm older, and the numbers don't really add up anyway. So I have a private pension. I pay £100 in, say, for the next 40 years. That's 48 grand. And then you get taxed on that. That's not enough to live on anyway. So I know a lot of people they're not putting their contributions in now because they need the money now to rent and stuff. So they're probably not even going to get that 48 grand.
So do you work for the NHS?
No, I work for a private organisation.
Okay.
But it's not enough. I mean, the future looks bleak for a lot of people, especially people who are a lot younger than me. I've got a few savings and stuff, but yeah, I don't know how anyone can afford to live now and put some stuff away, and then raising the state pension to 75 just seems insane to me.
What should we do? There is a suggestion that the money pot might actually run out for someone like you. gets to pensionable age?
I mean, I wish I had the answers. I mean, that's why I'm not a politician, I guess. I don't know what the answer is. We can't keep pushing people to work higher and higher and higher. Didn't they have riots in France? They put it up to 60 or something.
That's right.
And we're talking about 75. It just seems bleak.
Yeah, it does. I'm sorry that your first call to LBC had to be on such a bleak subject. How are you feeling?
It's fine. It's all good. I'm still sprightly.
Good man. Well, as I say, the LBC shop is always open and it's free. Right, let's speak to a politician, though. We're going to speak to Baroness Carmen Smith. She's the youngest peer in the House. She's Baroness Smith of Llanfass for Plaid Cymru. It's been suggested in the Labour manifesto that peers at the House of Lords who don't participate enough in the Lords will face the sack. Do you concur with that? Good morning.
Morning, Ian. Yeah, so what we have heard this morning and yesterday about the latest reforms proposed by the Labour government is yet again just really something that's ticking around the edges of a broken system. In 2022, Keir Starmer actually promised something a lot more than that, which was to take the appointments to the Lords out of politicians' hands in his first term of a Labour government. But booting out inactive peers is obviously welcome, but it falls far short of what is actually needed.
Which is?
Well, personally, I'm in favour of an elected chamber, and I think at this moment in time, what the Labour government should be doing is putting forward a democratic, accountable alternative to what we currently have as a system, which is an unelected House of Lords. So I would say scrap it in its current form, and currently what they're discussing is just trimming it and tinkering around the edges, which doesn't really solve the problem at all.
You're actually proposing that you lose your own job?
Yes, I have been very open about that from the get-go, and actually most people agree with me in across the UK. Most Britons are against the House of Lords, and the majority of them support an elected chamber. So yes, I'm there because I believe you have to be in the room and around the table to make the change that you want to enact. And I'm very, very clear that I want to get rid of my job would be the goal.
Okay, so it's the expenses per day if you just turn up, you don't have to actually speak, do you? Is what, 350 quid or something? Is that right?
Yeah, so it's based on a daily allowance, and it's not based on what people contribute to Parliament at all.
Right, okay. So do you think, and I don't want you to name names, but there's over 800 people in the House of Lords, it's way too big, but do you think there are some people who literally just turn up, take their money, have a cup of tea and go home?
I think the stats really speak for themselves, as there's a lot of statistics that have been put out over recent weeks which show that the vast majority of the parliamentary work in the House of Lords is carried out by only a quarter of all peers. So that is 210 out of 830. So, however, that's not going to be an exact science, and their contributions might be measured in different types of ways. But yeah, the majority of peers aren't showing up every day and contributing to the work of Parliament.
Right, okay, so if you change it to what you want, which would be an elected chamber, does that change the constitutional powers that the Lords will have?
It doesn't change the powers that they have, and the job of the second chamber is really to scrutinise and revise what the first chamber want to do. So it doesn't change the powers. What it would do is change who is there, and the thing that's the most important to me is having that accountability with the people across the UK, so that people across the UK can hold the people in the second chamber to account.
What would be your total number of peers then in this future chamber?
I don't believe it should be more than how many MPs we have. I think that the second chamber should be smaller than the first chamber, but it depends on how we also would want to elect them.
You're a remarkable woman. how do you become a peer at 29, Carmen?
Yeah, so a bit of an unusual story really, but as a member of Plaid Cymru, so the Party of Wales, we're one of two political parties in the UK that have an election process to the House of Lords. The Greens also do the same, which is an internal election process, and we're very clear that we don't believe that an unelected chamber should exist. So we try to have a process where we have a bit more accountability and transparency. But I'm there to serve what my members put me there to do.
Okay, well I'm here if you need a ghostwriter for your book. Thank you very much, Carmen. Baroness Carmen Smith, the youngest peer in the House at 29. That's it from us. Back tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Hopefully, if you missed any of today's show, particularly the early stuff, you can listen back on Catch Up. You can do it one of two ways, the Global Player app or the LBC app, where you can stay up to date on the top stories and opinion. You can rewind live radio and listen to all the podcasts. Download both apps for free from your app store. At 10 on LBC, it's Emily Thornberry. But now it's time for your Wednesday breakfast with Nick Ferrari.
Thanks, Ian. At 7 o'clock on Wednesday, August the 27th, a plan to deport 600,000 people from this country. To put it in context, that's a city roughly the size of Glasgow. How would it work?
The only way we will stop the boats is by detaining and deporting absolutely anyone that comes via that route.
Plus payments to countries to take the people back. How comfortable are you to make payments to countries such as Sudan, Iran, or even the murderous terrorists of the Taliban? In a related story,
an asylum seeker in Epping has been accused of trying to kiss two 14-year-old girls, telling them that he wanted to have a baby with them. I'm LBC's Shivani Sharma with the details.
Plus, a record 6.5 million Britons are claiming jobless benefits. That's up 500,000 since Labour came to power, with, of course, now a record number. How the US drug giant could halt UK's Manjaro orders. Plus, Taylor's wedding Travis. And that was the song Taylor Swift used to announce her engagement, which has been liked by 25 million people. I thought I'd... 7 o'clock news as well is next.
On your radio, on the LBC app, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 7 o'clock, Nigel Farage has been accused of seeking to tear through centuries of British legal tradition in his plan to tackle illegal migration. The Reform UK leader set out proposals yesterday to overhaul human rights law to deport asylum seekers. He's claimed it would stop small boat crossings of the English Channel within days. Home Office Minister Lord Hanson says the plan could have been written on the back of a fag packet.
It is uncosted, unconstructed, and it's not really going to be very effective, and it's not really a plan that is deliverable. Now, I've been around for a long time. I've been a minister for 14 years in various governments over the last 25 years, and one thing is clear: to deliver something, you need to have a proper, effective plan.
LBC has learned there will be a freeze on UK orders of the weight loss jab Mounjaro from the end of the day. Its pharmacies won't be able to request any more of the drug until steep price hikes take effect on Monday. They have seen a surge in demand since the changes were announced. Pharmacist Dervis Gurul has told us his phone has been ringing off the hook.
We have had an influx of queries and furthermore influx of new patients that want to start the medication before the price increases that is coming into effect on 1st of September. Some of the existing patients that's been getting these medications from other suppliers have been rummaging through because they're trying to obtain as much as they can.
The Alliance of Charities has warned 6 million new cases of cancer could be diagnosed in England before 2040. One Cancer Voice is calling for new treatment targets and stronger prevention policies to address a surge in cases. Ministers say their upcoming National Cancer Plan will help support improvements. The energy regulator Ofgem has confirmed its latest price cap for households. It will rise by 2% from October. And President Trump's 50% tariff on Indian imports to the US has taken effect. The additional penalty was announced earlier this month in response to India's continued purchase of oil from Russia. In the city, the FTSE 100 will reopen at 92.65 after closing down 55 yesterday. The pound buys $1.34 and €1.50. LBC weather, many places seeing a mixture of sunshine and showers, a band of heavier rain moving northeast winds across the UK, a high of 24 degrees. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Thomas Watt.
At this vet, Mia's the owner, surgeon, rota manager and party room, and now she and her team are cybersecurity experts too.
Mia, someone tried accessing our system. Phishing scam. I blocked it.
BT Security Awareness Training turns your team into your first line of defence. Quick to set up from just £1.25 per user per month. Cybersecurity is everyone's business. Thankfully not just Mia's. Search BT Business Cybersecurity. T&Cs apply. Prices exclude VAT at 20%. 12-month minimum term applies.
请继续执行。
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Ferrari at breakfast.
Good morning. 3 minutes after 7, Wednesday the 27th of August. The Reform UK plan as outlined by Nigel Farage yesterday. Popular or ugly populism? And what do people in one of the key areas think?
Nigel Farage vows to deport hundreds of thousands of migrants arriving illegally under a new plan. MLBC's Emma Call in Dover with more details.
In other news, the number of people now claiming jobless benefits is up 500,000 since Labour came to power. It's an all-time record of 6.5 million people we are now paying not to do any work. Work and Pension Secretary Liz Kendall claimed back in January.
Any people with health problems, physical, mental health and disabilities, desperate to work, so that they can improve their living standards.
It's a love story. Taylor Swift and her boyfriend, now her fiancé, announced the engagement on social media. 25 million likes. You thought Posh and Bex was big. It is as nothing compared to that. And we'll give you the full details. We'll also look at how politicians are increasingly using AI, and in some cases bizarre rap videos. We'll play some of them to you and ask why they work. More on that story that the US drug giant will temporarily halt UK Manjaro orders. And having mentioned Nigel Farage once already, he also features in that rather strange AI rap video posted just this weekend. You can't quite believe what you're hearing. You want to see it. It's on LBC, on the LBC app. Take a look right now.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast. Call 0345 60 60 973. Text 84850. Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC.
Safe to say, Reform UK is not the first political party to come forward with an idea to stop the problems of the small boat or the migrant crossings, but no plan has ever been this radical. To put it in context again, their plan essentially is to deport people equivalent to the size of a city of Glasgow during a parliamentary term. And it will include making payments to terrorist groups such as the Taliban. LBC's correspondent in the southeast, Emma Call, reports from Dover. Emma.
Well, Nick, I'm looking out to the French coastline across from Dover's seafront. This year, we've seen record levels of migrants making the journey across the channel. Almost 29,000 people have arrived here since January, 950 people over the bank holiday weekend alone, with projections that could exceed 50,000 by the end of the year. Yesterday, Nigel Farage described again what's happening here as an invasion and delivered his plan to stop people arriving here in Dover.
The only way we will stop the boats is by detaining and deporting absolutely anyone that comes via that route. And if we do that, the boats will stop coming within days.
Reform's plan, dubbed Operation Restoring Justice, would be able to detain and deport up to 600,000 illegal migrants over 5 years, withdrawing from the European Convention on Human Rights and scrapping the Human Rights Act, while establishing large-scale removal centres in remote parts of the UK. Here in Dover, locals this morning have told me they've got mixed views on his proposals.
I think we have too many that come in without working, just draining off the state. I think it's a difficult situation. Something's got to be done. Whether just deporting everybody in Awana is the right answer, I'm not convinced. There's just too many here at the moment that's just draining off the state.
I think the danger with him is that he comes out with some comments that are really valid and good ideas. However, this is not one of them.
To be honest, he is saying things that make the public react. Again,
I think politicians say what we want to hear, and he is definitely doing that.
Meanwhile, Number 10 has hit back, saying Farage's proposals risk undermining international agreements, including the Good Friday Agreement, and that they're pressing ahead with their own plan, the one-in, one-out pilot scheme with France. The Conservatives, meanwhile, have accused Mr Farage of rehashing their previous ideas. But for people here in Dover this morning, as the crossings continue and political pressure rises, this plan seems quite divisive, welcomed by some, with others believing it's taking matters too far, or have doubts that it simply won't work, Nick.
Emma Core reporting from Dover, 7:08. Let's get straight into the conversation of this. By the way, I'm going to take you to a country in Europe that actually has handled this far better, arguably is probably one of the best countries, actually, in dealing with that issue. That's to come. We go elsewhere in Europe. Let's come back to the UK and bring into the conversation Reform UK MP and Deputy Leader of the party, Richard Tice. Good to have you on, Mr Tice. As I said earlier, yours is not the first party to try and tackle this, but yours is certainly the most ambitious. And I wonder if I can ask you about the costs. Your briefing document says it will cost £10 billion. The Centre for Migration Control, such a plan would cost £47.5 billion. And when asked why, Nigel Farage's response was, Zia Youssef, your colleague, is really good at maths. Are you really asking my listeners simply to buy that, Mr Tice? Good morning.
No, good morning. What I'm asking your listeners to believe is that actually we've been round the block. We've got a track record of success in business, and we're now negotiating on behalf of taxpayers, and we will secure much better value than has ever been achieved before. And Zia's calculations are correct and will actually mean that over the lifetime of a parliamentary term, tens of billions of pounds can be saved because we will remove this huge cost, currently £7 billion and rising, of the asylum seekers, the illegal migrants. And it's all part of our plans to deter people and to detain and deport people. And to do that, we need to leave the European Convention on Human Rights, we need to scrap the Human Rights Act, and we need to suspend for a 5-year period with a sunset clause international treaties such as the 80-year-old UN Convention on the UN 1951 Convention.
Mr Tice, how comfortable would you be with the British government giving money to countries such as Iran, Sudan, or the terrorists of the Taliban?
Sometimes in life you have to do business with people that you may not like. If we want a ceasefire in Gaza, you've got to do a deal with Hamas. If you want a ceasefire in Ukraine, you've got to do a deal with Putin. These are not nice people. But leadership is about taking difficult decisions. And I repeat the point. The role of the British government is to protect our sovereignty, our borders, and to ensure the safety of our women and girls. And that's why people are so angry about this. And that's why we're leading in the polls.
It is reported that for each person currently deported, it takes 4 security guards, 4 whatever you want to call them, per person. So where are you going to get the additional staff from?
We will engage the appropriate staff, we will detain, and we
this
will
is all
deport.
priced in, is it, Mr Tice, into this £10 billion Zia's good at maths plan?
It is, and we're also good at organising things. We're also good at getting things done. Nobody thought when we started out just before the general election that we'd secure any MPs. No one thought we'd now be trading as the leading party in every national poll. So we continue to exceed expectations that everybody sets for us. Nobody thought we'd win 10 councils. We did. We're running them. We're saving tens, if not hundreds of millions of pounds already. So, yeah, we've got a track record of success. And what we're saying to the British people is give us a clear mandate at the general election next time around, and we will sort this out.
And lastly, you'll be aware, Mr Tice, you're a bright man, exiting the ECHR. What does that mean for Northern Ireland?
What it means for Northern Ireland, which has the Good Friday Agreement from 1998, let's be really clear about this. That says that Northern Ireland legislation ultimately can be subject to the ECHR. It does not say that the United Kingdom must remain in the ECHR. And discussions I've had with barristers, the UK can leave the ECHR whilst still complying with the Good Friday Agreement.
It'd be a protracted business, though, Mr Tice. You must accept that. It's not going to happen overnight.
Nothing's perfect. No one's saying it's easy. But the reality is that we have got an emergency in this crisis. We've had 50,000 illegal migrants have crossed the Channel since Labour were elected to power. And that's about 40 to 50% higher than a year previously. If we don't do something, we don't set a course of serious, radical change, then this problem is going to get worse, and the British people will not put up with it.
Well, I hear you, but you're happy to send women back to Sudan, where rape is used as a tactic of war. You'd be comfortable with that?
And regrettably, some of these illegal migrants who have come to this country have raped British women and British girls, and the role of a British government is to defend the British people. Sometimes you have to do business with people you may not like. We cannot control despotic regimes around the world. What we can do is protect our own people, and that's what a Nigel Farage-led government promises to do.
Grateful for your time. Richard Tice, your Deputy Leader of Reform UK, your MP for Boston and Skegness, 13 minutes after 7. Let's go around the rest of Europe now. Italy is having enormous problems. Migrant arrivals are up 9% to more than 36,000. France is wrestling with the same issues, and in Spain. But one country seems to stand out as having identified this problem quite early on and taken some fairly drastic action, and I speak of Denmark. So it's a pleasure to bring into the conversation Anders Vistesen, who's a Danish MP, member of the European Parliament, and joins me now. I hope I got your last name right. Apologies if I didn't, sir. Can you explain when Denmark identified the issue and what action was taken? Good morning.
Good morning. My party, the Danish People's Party, was founded 30 years ago on this platform, being critical towards illegal migration and also skeptical towards the European Union. And after we entered into the national parliament in 1998, we had a national election in 2001. And that is what we in Denmark today call the system change when it comes to migration. So basically since 2001, governments both to the left and to the right have pledged to have a strict migration policy, basically with the target to have a stricter law than our neighboring countries, making it less attractive for an illegal migrant to be in Denmark than, for instance, let's say Norway, Sweden or Germany in our case.
Yes, indeed. It is said that yours is the toughest or the strictest regulations within the European Union. What happens then to arrivals in your country? What is the process?
Basically, at the moment, the process is that if you come illegally with an asylum claim, it is treated normally within 3 months' time. Then you have an appeal. That takes also an average 3 months' time. So within half a year, you have a decision. Most people will have their claim rejected because they don't fill the requirements for being refugees under the conventions. And then they will be deported for up to 90% of the cases. Some people we cannot because of the European Human Rights Convention or because of other international obligations or because the host country can't receive them. But Denmark have gone very far to make agreements with as many third countries to take back their migrants when they have rejected their asylum claim. It's not the system that we would prefer. We would prefer the Australian model, but it is certainly better than most of EU countries or European countries indeed.
Can you give my listeners an idea how many people we might be talking about each year who try to gain access to your country, Mr. Vistesen?
Of course, we had a spike when we had the so-called refugee crisis of Syrian people 6 or 7 years ago. But in average today, in Denmark, we will talk about around 10,000 illegal arrivals a year. Most of them will be rejected. I think the current stats are beneath 5,000 people 5,000 people who will get their asylum claim accepted in Denmark.
And lastly, Denmark would send people back to Afghanistan or Sudan or Iran?
We have had agreements on Afghanistan. Right now, we are not allowed to return there because we are also a member of the European Human Rights Convention, and there is a court decision to uphold or to stop sending back there. But there have been regions in Afghanistan where we have had agreements to forcefully resend asylum seekers. So yes, in principle, as long as we can live up to our international framework, which the majority of Danish parties still believe we should be part of, not my own, but that's another case, we will send back. And we are sending back to countries where, for instance, the European Union in general do not send back illegal migration.
Brilliant. I've enjoyed our time this morning. Thank you very much for your time. Anders Vistesen is a Danish MEP, member of the European Parliament. Reactions coming in on that, unsurprisingly. Popular or populist? There is quite a distinction between these two. But this is the news that shocked the world.
This is CNN Breaking News.
Breaking news. It is just developing. It was just put in my hand. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce have announced that they are engaged.
My God, you'd have thought it was the end of the Ukraine war. A pop singer's marrying a football player. I wish them nothing but good luck. Clearly Taylor realising now I'm taken. This game over. 7:17 LBC News headlines. Thomas Watts.
Ofgem's energy price cap will rise by about £35 a year for a typical household from October. Opposition parties have dismissed Reform UK's pledge to carry out mass deportations as unworkable. And the maker of Monjaro has told its British wholesalers to stop taking orders because of unprecedented demand. LBC weather. Many places seeing a mixture of sunshine and showers, a high of 24 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Joanne Webb. It's very slow on the M25, anti-clockwise from junction 29 at the A127 to 28 at the A12, and that's because a car has broken down. Queues on the A2 westbound from the tollgate services to Pepper Hill, and that's all down to an accident that happened earlier. Very busy on the North Circular Road. There are delays of about 20 minutes going westbound to Arnos Grove, and that's all down to the roadworks. On the Underground, there are severe delays on the Jubilee line, and also on the Jubilee line, trains aren't stopping at Westminster Station. It was after that signal failure from earlier. The Central line is suspended between Newbury Park and Woodford via Hainault, and that's because of the engineering works.
This is LBC.
At this vet, Mia's the owner, surgeon, rota manager and puppy wrangler. And now she and her team are cybersecurity experts too.
Mia, someone tried accessing our system. Phishing scam. I blocked it.
BT Security Awareness Training turns your team into your first line of defense. Quick to set up from just £1.25 per user per month. Cybersecurity is everyone's business. Thankfully, not just Mia's. Search BT Business Cybersecurity. T&Cs apply. Prices exclude VAT at 20%. 12-month minimum term applies.
This is LBC. Listen on Global Player or the new LBC app. Download it from your app store now.
You've packed enough suitcases to know quality when you see it. Well, Saga Travel Insurance has been named a Which Best Buy. And now get 20% off when you buy before the 30th of September. Search Saga Travel Insurance for a quote today. New policies only. Standard and Plus are Which Best Buys May 2025. Terms and conditions apply. Over 50s only.
The Virgin Atlantic Holiday Sale is now on. This is your sign to taste Jamaican jerk chicken so good it brings a tear to your eye. Catch a New York basement gig worth the 10-block detour. Or hit the dunes in Dubai and find sand in your pockets for weeks. Seize the sale. Book in store or online at Virgin Atlantic Holidays. Selected routes. For T's and C's, visit virginatlantic.com.
$1.49 at McDonald's gets you a mini Oreo McFlurry. $1.49 on a big night out gets you...
Sorry, no trainers.
McDonald's Saver Menu. Actually get your money's worth. From 11 a.m. Price and participation may vary. Fees apply to delivery, subject to availability.
Body pain might not sound like this. Or this. But it might sound like this.
I'm fine.
Hiding your body pain behind a smile? Let us help. With up to 12 hours of uninterrupted muscle and joint pain relief. Voltarol, the joy of movement. Voltarol Joint and Back Pain Relief 2.3% gel contains diclofenac diethylmonium. Always read the label.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast. Call 0345 6060 973.
We've got 21 minutes after 7. I'll come to your reaction. Malcolm, you're going to be the first caller. Sir Keir Starmer, I noticed, saying that these plans, of course, will put Britain on a par with Russia and Belarus. He needs to accept, the Prime Minister needs to accept his plans are not working. Now, in a related story, you might have already heard on LBC that the French government is close to toppling, and that means the idea of a greater interception of vessels, as they call it, otherwise known as ripping them apart with a rubber dinghy. That's almost certainly now not going to go ahead because the government's fighting for its life, something that really is pretty low down their agenda domestically in France, because I don't think there's much will to do it anyway. So don't expect to see those boats being ripped up anytime soon. There, of course, you can easily pick holes in Nigel Farage's plan. And is it 100% secure? No. Do the finances seem to add up? Well, only because Zia Youssef's better at maths. That's a little bit light. But at least there's some thought gone into it. At least it's something that might act as a deterrent, which nothing else has. Don't listen to the absurd plans from Sir Keir Starmer, Yvette Cooper, or even Kemi Badenoch. None of them are working. It's front-page news, unsurprisingly, but, again, possibly unsurprisingly for many, different reactions. For the Daily Mail, finally a politician who gets it, referring to Nigel Farage. The Daily Express, Farage, I will deport 600,000 illegal migrants. Just to remind you, Glasgow's population, 620,000, so it's quite a task. But then papers such as the Daily Mirror are appalled. Britain is better than this, is their front page headline. And the Eye, picking out one particular element, Farage's promise to deport 600,000 involves deals with the Taliban and the Ayatollah, something I just put to the deputy leader of the party. It is the lead story. There are other stories. Another big story, of course, front page of The Sun. Look What You Made Me, I Do, which I think plays into song titles of Taylor Swift. I have to admit, I'm not particularly strong on her back catalogue, but we will look at that extraordinary announcement that has rocked the world. The LBC app has Keir Starmer's position, which is as vapid as you would probably expect. And just looking at random, the HuffPost suggests that the plan is, quote, not serious. But let's see now what you make of it. Malcolm's in Bishop Stortford. Malcolm, what do you make of it? Good morning.
Morning. I was wondering why everybody's clutching at pearls about Afghanistan and Iran being mentioned about deportations, when I think your man from Denmark stole my thunder. Because Denmark and Germany have already sent people back to Afghanistan.
Yep.
So I just don't see why.
Well, this is the argument that we can't be responsible. We, the United Kingdom, cannot be responsible for all the world's ills, and we have to accept that. And I wonder if you're ready to go this far. That if we do send someone back to Afghanistan and the Taliban don't like him and he's marched off and machine gunned against a wall, we just have to say, well, it's not our fault.
Didn't David Lammy give a load of aid to Afghanistan not long ago?
I think we're probably sending aid to Afghanistan on a regular basis, but I have no idea. But
exactly. I mean, what gets me is I go to Europe quite a lot. I go to Germany quite a lot.
Mm.
And I was in Cologne last year.
Right.
And Cologne city centre is almost as bad as London.
Well, you've got to explain what you mean by bad. What does that mean?
Well, there's gangs of illegal migrants hanging around the city centre at night. I mean,
where will I see that in London?
They do that all over this country, I'm afraid.
Gangs of illegal migrants roaming around London.
Yeah.
Which I live in London and I work in London. Where do I go to see that?
Well, I'll give you an example. I went to King's Cross a few months ago to visit my friend at his office.
Mm.
Couldn't find it. Went down one of the side streets because I got lost. And there's two different gangs of people following me, obviously after my phone, because my phone, I had to put my phone in my pocket and go straight back to King's Cross Central.
Right. And you think those were people, how do you know that these were illegal migrants, Malcolm?
Well, they were speaking Arabic.
They were speaking Arabic.
That's how close they got to me.
Okay. All right.
And have you ever been to Manchester? Have you been to Manchester lately?
I have been to Manchester, yes.
Well, if you walk around Piccadilly Gardens, it's like being in the south. Well, can't really say really, but
all right, okay. I mean, what I would say, there's a lot of people, by the way, who speak Arabic in London who are not trying to steal your mobile phone and are here perfectly legally and are just living their life. Where I would give you, if you go to an area such as Warren Street, which is by Euston, there is this now what's effectively a shanty town of people living in tents. I think they were moved off from opposite the rather ritzy hotel, not the Ritz, but the ritzy hotels on Hyde Park, and it would appear they've gone a little way up the road, turned left, and they're happy there. So I'll give you that. I think to say they're roaming the streets is we've got to be very careful with the language, but certainly there are issues and there are concerns, and you're valid if you were feeling personally threatened in that fashion to have those views. Malcolm, look after yourself. Thank you. Chris in Richmond. Chris, your reaction. Good morning.
Good morning and congratulations on your getting married.
Thanks, Sport. Thank you.
So, logistically, there's more holes than a piece of Swiss cheese in this one. The planes, where are their planes going to come from? The RAF certainly doesn't have them, and they might end up being deployed elsewhere in China, in the South China Sea, or in Ukraine.
Well, there's plenty of spare planes around. It's just the cost that I think is more the issue, isn't it?
Well, but airlines don't want to touch them, Nick. Many airlines have said, we're not getting anywhere near this with a branch bond. I don't see British Airways getting involved. Nigel Farage was talking about renegotiating the Good Friday Agreement.
Now, that's the one that I find intriguing.
Seriously.
But we've got to do something, old chap.
I agree. There's got to be a faster processing. And I think the problem is people need to be patient. People expect solutions to come now. If there was an easy solution, the Conservatives would have found one. Right. The other thing I would say is that we can all agree or disagree, but this departure board thing he showed yesterday, I thought that was shocking, frankly. You know, some of these people are coming from pretty hideous countries where if you're gay, you get thrown off a building in Iran, or you get shot by the Taliban, and he's got that departure board like you would have had when you went to France for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So it's really not British, is it?
That's the key. Chris, thank you for your kind words. Is it particularly British? That's the key issue that Chris is going to help us now continue to explore. Have a good day, Chris. Thank you. Coming up on 7:28. Now, in a related story, let's pick up on the latest on the so-called Epping migrant hotel crisis or protests. LBC reporter Shivani Sharma joins me, who was at Chelmsford Magistrates Court yesterday watching a case go through. Shivani, good morning.
Good morning, Nick. Hadush Kebede sat in the dock shaking his head yesterday at Chelmsford Magistrates Court for the first of this two-day trial as one of the witnesses and alleged victims, a 14-year-old girl, described in detail what she says happened to her across 2 days in July last month. Now, she says that Kebede tried to kiss her multiple times in broad daylight, so that he touched her thigh, that he stroked her hair, and she says that he propositioned her for sex and that he tried to get her and her female friend to come back to the Bell Hotel with him, of course the asylum seeker hotel in Epping. She said that he repeatedly told her and her friend that he wanted to have babies with them, and that when she told him no because of her age, he said that age doesn't matter. She says that her and her friends tried to move away from him, that he continued to follow them and harass them through the town centre, and that he did this for 2 days in a row. She said it wasn't until an adult, who was another alleged victim, started screaming at him that he finally ran away. Now, Nick Kabatu has been charged with 5 counts of sexual assault, harassment and attempted sexual assault. And obviously this case has gained significant interest. It's been the catalyst for a number of protests about asylum seekers being housed in hotels, some of which have led to arrests. But in this trial for Hadush Kebede, we're going to hear from more witnesses today, as well as the defence, before we get a judgment. And of course, it's important to note that Hadush Kebede has denied all of the charges which have been laid against him.
Shivani Sharma reporting, 7:29. Let's pick up on some social media. We've still not quite got the emails working, but I'm confident they'll be back in line for tomorrow, so apologies on that. But you are able, of course, to text me. This from Jonathan in Deal, and WhatsApp me. I'm now ashamed to be British. So many of our fellow countrymen seem to share the views of Farage. He's simply disgusting. You've also, many of you, do go to the LBC app to see, we're talking about the success or otherwise of politicians' AI videos, those that have worked and those that have not. Some of you have seen the Nigel Farage one. This is from Adam. That at Farage rap video is brilliant. It would get to #1 in a moment. Brilliant attention and publicity. Andrew in Saltburn. Reform football shirts, now a rap video if they really tried. Could they be more patronising? This is what you're talking about. And he's dancing on Clacton Pier. This is AI, by the way, surrounded by a number of black rap musicians. And as I recall, I think he's wearing a white fur coat. It has to be seen to be believed. And staying with news that rocked the world.
This is CNN Breaking News.
Breaking news. It is just developing. It was just put in my hand. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce have announced that they are engaged.
God knows what that man would have done with Watergate. He'd have probably passed out. 7:30, you're listening to Breakfast with me, Nick Ferrari, here on LBC. Let's get the news. Thomas Watts.
The energy regulator, Ofgem, has announced a larger-than-expected increase in its price cap. It'll rise by 2% from the start of October. That's up by about £3 a month for the average household. Labour has dismissed Reform UK's pledge to carry out mass deportations as unworkable. The Reform leader, Nigel Farage, set out plans yesterday to overhaul human rights law to tackle illegal migration. British pharmacies have been told they can't request any more Mounjaro until prices go up on Monday. The maker of the weight loss jab has told its wholesalers to stop taking orders because of unprecedented demand. LBC weather. Many places seeing a mixture of sunshine and showers, a band of heavier rain moving northeastwards across the country. A high of 24 degrees.
This is LBC.
The road stretches before you, but there's trouble ahead. Stationary cars. You're faced with a McDonald's side mission. Do you, A, join the ever-growing queue, or B, take the next exit and treat yourself to a glorious Mackey's?
Detouring to McDonald's.
Start your side mission today.
So, what are you watching at the moment? Squid Game, Dad.
Let's watch it together this weekend. That'd be nice. What's it on again?
Netflix. You've got EETV, so you just switch it on. What season are we up to?
4. That's Stranger Things, Mum.
And what about the kids? Don't worry, they'll watch Cocomelon.
for the 100th time.
Switch on Netflix with EETV, plus change up sports and entertainment. It's TV with the ultimate flex for the whole family.
EETV requires EE broadband. Separate 24-month contracts for TV and broadband. Content may vary. Terms apply.
The Virgin Atlantic holiday sale is now on. This is your sign to taste Jamaican jerk chicken so good it brings a tear to your eye. Catch a New York basement gig worth the 10-block detour. Or hit the dunes in Dubai and find sand in your pockets for weeks. Seize the sale. Book in store or online at Virgin Atlantic Holidays. Selected routes. For T's and C's, visit virginatlantic.com.
40 million people listen to commercial radio each week. That's 80 million ears, give or take. Amplify your advertising at radiocentre.org.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
7:33. Popular or populist? Is it part of being English or British? We'll come back to your views on that Reform UK plan. I remind you, it's getting rid of a city the size of Glasgow, roughly. Now, let's get to the editor-in-chief at City AM, Christian May. And Christian, before we talk business, I just want to look through what most of the front pages have in some way, shape or form. The Sun, Look What You Made Me I Do, Taylor Swift and her boyfriend, Travis Kelce. The Daily Telegraph has a front page picture. The Times has a front page picture. The Guardian, It's a Love Story. Christian, there's nothing on the front page of City AM. What are you doing to your readers? Good morning.
Well, that's because this is worth way more than a front-page picture story, Nick. As I often say to my journalists, there is always a business angle.
Yes.
And we will be doing a full economic analysis of the impact and implications of this.
Bigger than Posh and Bex, bigger than Harry and Meghan, whatever it might be. I look forward to reading that. Now, something that we do know dropped, I think, within the last half hour or so. Energy price cap. Explain who sets it and what it means to Mrs Jones in Clapham.
Well, if Mrs Jones in Clapham is what the regulator Ofgem calls an average household, then the price cap for domestic energy has been set from October through to the end of the year at £1,755. That is up a little bit on where it stood, and it is in fact up more than analysts had been expecting. Expecting about a 1% rise, it's actually a 2% rise. Overall, that's going to add about 35 bills to that average energy bill. If you live in a drafty old castle with a couple of Argas, it's going to be higher than if you're in some super eco new build. I'm sure you'll get away with paying less than that. This is not the maximum amount that a household will pay. This is just what the regulator does is it sets the maximum unit energy price cap. This price cap was brought in, first of all, by Theresa May about 6 years ago. And it was a short-term measure while they were working out how to rejig some of the infrastructure of the energy market. And then, of course, it really came into its own, if you like, after the spike in gas prices after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. At that point, in October 2023, this cap had reached nearly £2,500. So we're down considerably from that. One of the reasons for this, what you might call a modest increase, but an increase nonetheless, is because we will all of us be contributing to a sort of hardship fund, if you like, to help pay some of the bills of those who are unable to do so. And that, I think, just nudges us back into some of the political territory around the winter fuel allowance shenanigans from the government. And, of course, this all sets us up nicely again to consider the implications of the budget, probably in early November.
Christian, what is the moron premium and who's having to pay it?
Well, the answer to that is all of us. This is a term that economists and analysts use to explain the situation whereby the UK is paying an extraordinary amount to borrow money on the international markets, which all governments do, in the bond markets. A moron premium is what we have to pay to pay back for some of the policy mistakes that have been made in recent years. And those are not just laid at the feet of this government. Some of the decisions date back to around George Osborne's time, when he decided quite what the mechanisms would be for Britain to borrow in international markets and linking those repayments to inflation. So it hasn't been helped by government decisions. The government is facing an extremely difficult winter. They have next to no room to meet their own fiscal rules. And it's the question marks that linger around how the government is going to try and get out of that bind that saw the borrowing costs on what's called the 30-year gilt, which is a benchmark for the cost of servicing the national debt effectively, jumped yesterday. I mean, they've been rising steadily. They jumped again yesterday to a near 30-year high. This will erode the room that the Chancellor has to meet her public finance rules, her fiscal rules, and it will increase the pressure for tax cuts in the budget that I just mentioned. Why will it be tax rises in the budget? Because the government does not have the ability to meaningfully cut spending. There are only three ways out of this kind of territory. One is to raise tax revenue. That's difficult, certainly not pain-free. The other is to cut spending, and it's been proven that Labour MPs felt they didn't come to Westminster to do that. And the other is to grow the economy, and that's proving pretty difficult. That's why all bets are on substantial multi-billion-pound tax rises come the autumn.
Who's diving into eBay?
Well, I mean, we're all entitled to do so. I remember conversations about a pair of jeans from M&S, Nick, that you and I had seemed almost daily. Yeah. Well, I suppose the good news there is that should the time come where the owner of those jeans no longer is in love with them, then they can be put on eBay through M&S. M&S is opening its own second-hand clothing store, for want of a better phrase, on eBay, what they call a home for old favourites. It's introduced to me a new word, schwapping, which is not just some dodgy Dutch impersonation. Schwapping is, well, I suppose you can make of it what you will. It is about trying to find a new life for old clothes. And M&S have had a good partnership with Oxfam over the years, and they've got a very good relationship. They're going to extend that into the M&S's new operations on eBay, where people can forward their old M&S clothes, and they might receive some sort of voucher to shop again at M&S off the back of that.
Well, now I know what I can do with my old underpants. Christian Mayers, Editor-in-Chief at City AM. Thank you for that. 7:39. Ian, Clive, you want to talk to me about the Reform UK plan, and you shall. But we do have to reflect the other big news that has, well, shocked the globe. This was the song Taylor Swift used to announce her engagement on Instagram to Travis Kelce. The news has been liked by 25 million times. I suppose the same person could do it a few times. And is broken by US news networks.
This is CNN Breaking News.
Breaking news. It is just developing. It was just put in my hand. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce have announced that they are engaged.
Breaking news that is pretty huge. It's a love story. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are engaged.
God knows how they'll handle the end of the Ukraine war when that comes, those two networks, CNN and ABC News. Straight to Sean Mandel, who's senior reporter from People magazine, joining us from the City of Angels, Los Angeles. Sean, there is no official measure for this. I know that, buddy, but how big a deal is it? Good morning.
Good morning. I mean, I think it is quite a big deal. I mean, obviously, you know, everything has its silo that it exists within. This is not world peace, but we do live in a very fractured and divisive and tragic time. One could say that is any time in human history, but it is always nice when there are these sort of moments of unbridled joy where there does seem to be people coming together around, and it isn't just sort of anecdotal and light feelings, if you will. People feel very passionately about this. Everything from videos on social media of nuns crying when they found out the news to a professor who was giving a biochem midterm, and students walk in and see the photo on the PowerPoint presentation saying, Taylor and Travis have just got engaged. Shocks go through the room, and it says, you can't focus, I can't focus, class is dismissed.
I love it.
I mean, it's really run such a gamut. You know, this isn't just a celebrity news story, and I do think it is worthwhile to point out, you know, that Taylor is arguably the most famous woman in the world. I think that's not too big of a stretch. Certainly the most famous pop star in the world, perhaps rivaled only by, you know, Beyonce is really the only other person in that, you know, same sort of category. And the huge impact that she has on, you know, we're talking about the war in Ukraine, but her endorsing, for example, Kamala Harris, while it did not get her across the finish line, she has real impact in terms of voter registration, donations, for political causes as well. And economists studied, for example, the impact that her Eras Tour, which is the biggest tour in history, in music history, smashing even Elton John's most recent record in terms of profitability, making her a billionaire as well, actually is believed by economists to have slowed the advance of the recession that has taken control over the global economy.
I'll let you carry on with the celebration. Sean, thank you. Sean Mandel, senior reporter with People magazine, joining us from LA. So you've got the world's biggest female pop star, you've got a 3-time Super Bowl winner, and you've got a $500,000 engagement ring. Hope to God Claire didn't see that. I did my best. 7:43. Let's get to issues back here at home. Ian's in Waterloo. How much do you like or loathe the Reform UK plan? Good morning.
Hello, good morning, Nick.
Hello, sir.
Well, it's back of the fag packet stuff, isn't it, really? You know, it's 4 years away, and we can promise the earth. But the reason for my call was in response to the fellow that took the imaginary walk around the back streets.
Well, he might have done that. That was Malcolm. Let's say he was walking around King's Cross, but go ahead.
When questioned, he didn't seem too sure. But I live in a town in the Midlands, and there's a hotel on the edge of town with about 200 people in there.
Yep.
We see them walking around, going for their daily walks. They haven't caused any issues as far as we know. I'm sure if they had caused issues, we would have found out as a community. We all want these people to be dealt with quickly. We don't want them coming over in dinghies. We're not all like Farage and these Reform Party people.
What do you mean by that? When you say we're not all like Farage, what is Farage like? Just expand on that for me.
Farage is divisive and is making a wedge issue out of this. None of us, as I say, want this situation, but we want solutions to it. This is not the solution. I was hoping for slightly better solutions from the Labour Party, more robust solutions. Why on earth can't they get more people in there processing these guys? If there's 200 in this hotel, send 30 or 40 officials in there, find out if they should be granted asylum or not. Remember, 70 to 80% of them are going to be granted it in the end. You know, get them sorted out, get them out of the hotels, and then get them into the communities. At the moment, there's a wedge between us. They're over there. The rest of the country are over there. We're being chastised by Nigel Farage and the fellow that was on earlier on, who's saying that there's gangs of migrants going to be raping your children and beating.
Well, I don't think he quite went that far, but there is this insinuation that they are, and you're right to point that out, that they are all there, of course, trying necessarily to steal mobile phones or whatever it might be. Ian, thank you for your story. More calls coming in on this. In the next hour, I'll have to tell you, unfortunately, there's more bad news. How there's a record 6.5 million Britons claiming jobless benefits. Richard Clifton is from the Shaw Trust. That helps disadvantaged people into work.
There's a number of reasons people aren't getting into work, and it can be a combination of health, housing. It can be down to them not knowing how to actually access jobs.
More on that in the next hour. It's 7:45. LBC News headlines are read by Thomas Watts.
Energy bills are set to rise by 2% this winter. Labour has dismissed Reform's pledge to carry out mass deportations of illegal migrants as unworkable. And pharmacies have been told they can't request any more of the weight loss jab Mounjaro until prices go up on Monday. LBC weather. Many places seeing a mixture of sunshine and showers, a high of 24 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Joanne Webb. There are delays on the M23 southbound at the M25 junction. It's because a car's broken down just after the junction, so one lane is closed. On the Essex stretch of the M25, there are lengthy delays anti-clockwise to junction 29 at the A127, and that was after a car broke down earlier. It's been recovered, but it's still slow for about 4 miles on the approach. Still slow on the A2 westbound up to Pepper Hill, and that was after an accident that happened earlier. On the trains, Great Western Railway services can't run between Twyford and Henley-on-Thames, and that's because a tree has fallen onto the tracks. London North Western are running a reduced service at Bushy and Harrow and Wealdstone, and that's all down to a track problem.
The all-new LBC app. News your way. Download it for free from the App Store. This is LBC.
Looking to boost your career or just starting out? As the expert in online learning, the Open University has over 200 qualifications to choose from, like business, psychology, computing, and many more. With tutor support and courses that fit around your life, getting those in-demand skills employers are looking for,
圆环，在圆环处于第2个出口下交流道。
Like your fourth coffee of the morning energy.
驶出圆环。
And even as per my last email, energy. You can bring any energy you like to your business, but at SSE Energy Solutions, we bring simple, affordable energy. Choose SSE Energy Solutions, a different kind of energy.
Sharing intimate photos of her without her consent.
Unwanted touching, unwanted comments, unwanted nudes. Controlling what she can and can't wear.
Controlling who she can and can't see.
Threatening her.
Enough. This is abuse.
If you think it's wrong, act on it.
Call it out, show support, report it.
There are many ways you can safely tackle violence against women and girls. Find out how at gov.uk/enough. If someone is in danger, call
进入圆环，
999.
在圆环处于第2个出口下交流道。驶出圆环。
Investing is having access to guidance, tools, and expert insights. Being invested means feeling confident about your future. Investing is choosing from a wealth
进入圆环，在圆环处于第2个出口下交流道。
For ISAs, pensions, or advice, be truly invested with Fidelity. Go to
驶出圆环。
Your capital is at risk. Terms apply.
Mickey could try to sell his car privately. Or get it sold today with We Buy Any Car. He could spend days on end trying to sell to a bunch of time wasters. Or sell in a flash and head to the fun fair with the kids. Proper gutted. Or proper impressed. To get a quote in 30 seconds, enter your reg number now at WeBuyAnyCar.com.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast. Call 0345 6060.
请继续执行。
It's 11 minutes before 8. We'll talk more about the Reform UK plan in just a moment. But for a government that was elected with a promise for growth, it's important to be able to trade. And the government has done some deals. Countries such as India, possibly inching towards a very helpful trade deal with the United States as well. But what of our relations with the European Union, a fairly important trading bloc? Well, let's put questions to that now to Nick Thomas-Symonds, who's Paymaster General and Minister for European Union Relations, joining me now. Good to have you on, Minister. I understand that there will be a speech, or you're making some form of announcements later today. How close are we to our European friends in the deal on this country? Good morning.
Good morning, Nick. Before I do come to that, I'm in this quite bizarre position in your new studio where I can't actually see you. But I just wanted to say,
回靠左行，在100公尺处向左转。
on your shows, you know, many times. I just wanted to pass on my congratulations. I was seeing pictures of you, very nice pictures of you.
回靠左行，然后继续执行。
That's very sweet. That's very sweet. By the way, Christopher Biggins is the one in pink. I'm the one in blue. But bless you, mate. Thanks, Nick. Well, I can't beat you up today, can I? Come on, tell us what a great job you're doing.
Anyway, Nick, just say first of all, we secured a new set of arrangements with the European Union on the 19th of May. I led the negotiations, now leading the implementation. And what I'm going to be saying in a speech later today is that this is a deal that's going to be good for the creation of jobs. It's going to be good in terms of additional tools for securing our borders, things like sharing criminal records to a far greater extent, for example. But thirdly, also on trade, particularly I'm going to talk today about trade in food and drink with the European Union. So as of today, you'll have some businesses up and down the country, many of whom, Nick, have stopped trading with the EU altogether because of red tape and cost, but some that are today facing costs. So take an example, the Export Health Certificate, which is where you want to export certain types of food, you know, animal products to the EU. You're paying £200 per consignment. That's not per lorry, that's not a one-off fee, £200 per consignment. And what I'll be saying today is I want to implement that deal as soon as possible so we can take those costs away from businesses. And the message today to Reform, who said they want to reverse this deal before they even saw it, is why do you want to put those costs back on businesses? What we want to do is reduce costs on businesses, so have downward pressure on prices, including food prices.
You know me well enough, Nick. When you say implement as soon as possible, you know what the question is going to be. What sort of date are you setting yourself and your team then?
So I'm setting on the SPS agreement, and I'll be saying this in the speech later on. I want this in place by 2027. I think that is entirely realistic timetable. What I will then be moving forward, we still have some negotiations to do going forward, because there are certain things, and I'm talking to stakeholders about this, we'll want what we call a carve-outs in this, where we want to continue to do something different. But we are also taking a choice that we are aligning with high standards. We're not interested in a race to the bottom. And we're doing it, frankly, because this is in the interest of businesses and reducing costs up and down the country, and also because it's happening anyway and we're getting no benefit for it. I'm sure you'll recall, Nick, you may even have done a discussion on smoky bacon crisps some months ago, where it was being said that what this deal was going to mean is going to have to change the ingredients of smoky bacon crisps. When we spoke to crisp manufacturers, it was already happening anyway. They had already made the change to the recipe, and we weren't getting any economic benefit for it. So this is about the hard yards of delivery. It's what I was doing leading the negotiations. It's what I'm going to be doing now, implementing this.
在300公尺处向右转，向右转。
You're probably aware that the French government is in a little bit of jeopardy. Now, when a deal was announced that would allow them to intercept boats up to 300 metres off the French coast, the British government held it as a game changer. It would appear now that that might not be able to happen. What does that mean for the government's attempts to try and halt these illegal crossings, Minister?
Well, speaking, Nick, to Home Office colleagues just on this issue, obviously before I go on to your show, they have received reassurance from the French Interior Ministry that, irrespective of political developments in France, obviously I'm not going to comment on political developments in France, I'm sure you would expect me to, that will go ahead anyway. But what that is about, look, it's just one measure we are taking on this. There's no silver bullet for this. But that is talking about where there are boats within 300 metres of the French shore that the French authorities can
进入圆环，在圆环处于第一个出口下交流道，驶出圆环。
We've made sure that we've got that reassurance that will go ahead, irrespective of whatever political changes happen in France.
I have to ask you for your view of the Reform UK plan as outlined by Nigel Farage. Many political parties have talked about solutions. I don't think I've ever seen anything as radical as this, Minister.
But Nick, the reality is what we're talking about here is something that is just completely unrealistic. I mean, Nigel Farage talked about detaining people, he won't tell you where. He was asked about what will happen with women and children. He can't tell you the answer to that. But also, he's talking about trying to negotiate deals with countries that are very hostile to the EU. I mean, let's be frank. I mean, Nigel Farage has struggled with negotiating the politics of a parliamentary party that will just about fit into the back of a taxi. So I think forgive me for taking what was said yesterday with a pinch of salt.
Coming back to your role as European Union Relations Minister, one newspaper, the Daily Telegraph, reports Ed Miliband is locked in a battle with Sir Keir Starmer over the PM's support for plans to build the largest data centre in Europe. The Energy Secretary is at odds with Number 10 and other cabinet ministers over a flagship infrastructure project in Teesside that would threaten to scupper Mr Miliband's net zero ambitions. How aware are you of this dispute?
Not at all, Nick, and I think that whether it's in relation to that project or whether it is in relation to other projects up and down the country, infrastructure projects up and down the country, the government takes decisions that are in the national interest and on the basis of value for money, and that's exactly what we'll continue to do.
Nick, good luck today with your speech. Thank you for your kind words, by the way, about marriage. Appreciate it. Thanks, mate. Nick Thomas-Symonds, Paymaster General, Minister for European Union Relations, 7:56. Let's get a call in before we give you a full news update. Clive in Rossendale. Clive, you're on the radio. Good morning. You're talking about the Reform UK plans.
Originally meaning to chastise you slightly, Nick.
Oh, here we go. I'm so sorry. What have I done wrong now?
Well, it was about the way you framed the previous caller. I know that for balance you have to be contrarian at times.
What did I get wrong, sir?
It was the chap who was talking about light and
围靠右走，在100公尺处向右转。
40 years ago, I got exiled to Lancashire where I found love. And I don't very often come down to London anymore. But
向右转。
I came down
people, but I've got to ask you where your discomfort came from.
I appreciate that, Nick, and this is where society's going wrong now. We're all dancing on the heads of people, aren't we? You know, we can't say, I can't speak to you as I would like to speak to you, because we've all got to be so politically correct, and we've got to know what...
I'm allowing you to speak very clearly, but I can't allow you to just decide that all asylum seekers are trying to rob you. Every single asylum seeker in Islington is trying to rob you of your...
Nick, listen, just one minute. When have I said asylum seekers, or when have I said I wanted to rob my phone? I didn't.
Where does it
when I said the structure of London, or the fabric of London has changed that recognition.
But that's
what I'm trying to say.
What is it that you see, lastly? I want to get to news. What is that you see?
Right. Well, it comes down. I have to say, there are too many people who aren't. You can't say it, and you can't.
I'll be the judge of that. Who aren't? If you're going to say aren't British, how do you know they're not British? If that's what you were going to say, you might not be able to say that. What are you trying to say?
I think you're just playing with me now, Nick.
I'm not, sir. I'm not.
You are.
You said there are too many people who aren't, and then you stopped. Who aren't? Welsh? What?
I'm a Welsh, and I found them as well.
What? Who aren't?
Who are indigenous British?
How do you know?
Nick, see, now you are just playing with me.
I'm honestly not. I respect your view, and thank you for your very kind words. But unfortunately, the music means we do have to move on. But you have to realise, if you're going to say, I walk around the town and there are too many people who aren't, wearing shoes, drinking, and that's where we have to. Thank you for the call. Music means we move on. I want to tell you, the first email is in. They're repaired. Graham and Bushy, where Nick Ferrari leads, Taylor Swift follows. Good one, Graham. Emails appear to be back up. We're jobless, addressed by Work and Pension Secretary Liz Kendall.
You will have to be in work. There isn't an option of a life on benefits. It is good for your future earning prospects, and it's good for your health.
Plus, crisis at our pharmacies, as some of them being forced to use personal finance or even remortgage their homes to keep their businesses afloat. Those stories and more after the 8 o'clock news on LBC.
On your radio, on the LBC app, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom, opposition parties have accused Reform UK of providing no practical, financial or ethical background to its migration plan. Nigel Farage set out proposals yesterday to overhaul human rights law to carry out mass deportations. It could involve paying countries like Afghanistan or Iran to take asylum seekers back. Reform's deputy leader, Richard Tice, has told Nick it's sometimes necessary to work with objectionable regimes.
If we want a ceasefire in Gaza, you've got to do a deal with Hamas. If you want a ceasefire in Ukraine, you've got to do a deal with Putin. These are not nice people. But leadership is about taking difficult decisions. The role of the British government is to protect our sovereignty, our borders, and to ensure the safety of our women and girls.
The Cabinet Office Minister Nick Thomas-Symonds has accused Reform of wanting to take Britain backwards. He's criticised Nigel Farage's pledge to rip up a Brexit reset package agreed earlier this year. A typical household will see its energy bill rise by about £3 a month from October. Ofgem has announced a 2% increase in its latest price cap. The energy regulator says many households could save by switching to a fixed tariff. Pharmacies have told LBC they can't request any more Mounjaro until prices go up on Monday. The maker of the weight loss jab has told wholesalers to stop taking orders with unprecedented demand. Eli Lilly announced price rises of up to 170% earlier this month. Sahar Shahid sits on the board of the National Pharmacy Association.
What this has led is a huge impact on patients now considering continuing treatment, panicking on what to do next, and there's been a whole load of kind of chaos that came from the back of that announcement.
Cancer charities are calling for new treatment targets and prevention policies to tackle a surge in cases. One Cancer Voice says there could be 6 million new diagnoses in England by 2040. The Department of Health says its upcoming National Cancer Plan will support improvements. In the city, the FTSE 100's reopening at 92.65. The pound buys $1.34 and the euro 15. LBC weather, many places seeing a mixture of sunshine and showers. A band of heavier rain moving northeastwards across the UK. A high of 24 degrees. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Thomas Watson.
The Virgin Atlantic holiday sale is now on. This is your sign to taste Jamaican jerk chicken so good it brings a tear to your eye. Catch a New York basement gig worth the 10-block detour, or hit the dunes in Dubai and find sand
进
in your
入圆
pockets
环，
for
在圆环处于第3个出口下交流
Book in
道。
store or online at Virgin Atlantic Holidays. Selected routes. For T's and C's, visit virginatlantic.com.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Ferrari at breakfast.
Morning to you. 4 minutes after 8 on Wednesday, August the 27th. Coming up in this hour, up and away, the number of millions and millions of Britons now claiming jobless benefits. Up 500,000 just in the time that Labour came to power. We are paying an extraordinary amount of money for people effectively to sit at home, or if the weather's nice, in the back garden. How is that to be addressed? Plus, as I said just for the last news headlines, pharmacies in crisis. Some now having to remortgage their homes to keep their businesses afloat. Suki Basra is from the National Pharmacy Association and says,
We've got pharmacy owners delving into their savings in order to be able to pay for those monthly drug bills that they've already supplied to their patients.
A growing crisis in our schools.
围靠左行，在100公尺处向左转，向左转。
Well, now, 1 in 3 parents want to teach their children at home. Homeschooling. Have you done it? Are you doing it? Does it work? Oh my God, what must the challenges be? Plus, talking about challenges, we'll be talking later about how politicians are turning to AI, TikTok to embrace these ways of getting to younger people and, in some instances, younger voters. One, which we played a little bit of, and you can see them all on the LBC app. Nigel Farage dancing around as a rap star is hugely successful, more than 2 million views over the weekend. But they don't always come out quite so well.
Nothing beats it. This is my idea of a holiday. I'm here at the site of the Rampion Chew Wind Farm. 1 million homes powered. 4,000 jobs during construction.
Not some of Ed Miliband's energy sector's finest work.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC.
Those of you of a certain vintage will remember a very, very famous Conservative election campaign poster with a long queue of people waiting to get a job, or waiting wherever they might have been waiting, job centre. Labour isn't working, and that in part helped propel the Conservatives to power, and I'm taking you back decades, but it had a very punchy and poignant and powerful message. Can I say the same now? Well, it doesn't seem unfair. A record 6.5 million Britons are claiming out-of-work benefits. That's up 500,000 since Labour came to power. The number of people receiving some form of out-of-work welfare surpassed 6 million after Sir Keir Starmer became Prime Minister last July. Now, this could be incapacity benefits, unemployment support, universal credit payments. The number of working-age adults receiving some form of these payments is up almost 80% since early 2018. So we're talking nearly 80% in around around 7 years. Now, as I always say, some of these people have no choice. They are physically incapacitated. They have emotional health problems. But all of them? Now, earlier this year, the government announced attempted sweeping changes to the welfare system, of course, attacked instantly by Labour backbenchers. The changes were made to encourage people on long-term benefits to get back to work and fix a broken welfare system. But, of course, it was forced the government in June to U-turn on some of those proposals. But they stood firm on part of the overall plan of reform. And here is Work and Pension Secretary Liz Kendall introducing the plan to get Britain working.
The principles set out in our Pathways to Work Green Paper are rooted in values I know many MPs share. That those who can work must work, but often need proper support to do so. Those who can never work must be protected. But the system we inherited from the party opposite is failing on all these fronts. It incentivises people to define themselves as incapable of work just to be able to afford to live.
Let's bring Ross Clark, columnist of The Spectator. You see him in other titles such as The Daily Mail. He wrote, record jobless benefits are a national scandal. We heard a government minister there seeing really how they chickened out. Trump is known as Taco. Trump always chickens out. Do we have a Caco in Keir always chickens out as well? Ross, good morning.
Good morning, Nick. Yes. Well, I think this problem goes back a little bit further just than the present government. I mean, the present government has failed manifestly in trying to control the benefits bill, but it goes back a bit further than that. Now, go back to the sort of 1970s, 1980s, early 90s even. Unemployment was very, very visible. We counted up this sort of unemployment, number of people who were claiming unemployment benefit every month. And when it got to 2 million, then when it got to 3 million, that was the sort of national crisis. But now unemployment is really rather largely disguised because most claimants are not on unemployment benefit as such. They're on universal credit. And but there's an element within those 7.5 million people who are on universal credit who are on those benefits because they are out of work, either because they can't find work or because they've been signed off on the sick. Now, this is a very stark figure. There are 6.5 million people now who are essentially on out-of-work benefits. That is higher than it reached ever in the 70s, 80s or 90s. Then it peaked at under 6 million. And so, we've got this problem. More and more people on out-of-work benefits, and we don't sort of see the problem. It's not there in front of us because so many of these claimants have been shunted off on sick, as you might like to call it. They've been put on universal credit. They're not required to look for work. They're just essentially dumped there for years on end. And, the cost to the economy is fantastically large. We sort of disguise it a little bit because we're bringing in so much migrant labour, which sort of fills the gaps which could otherwise be filled by UK workers. But the sheer number of people who have been sort of signed off on the sick is largely invisible now.
Well, it's interesting